Good day, everybody. I am Sebastian Keynes, and this is going to be my assessment of Season 2 of DragonHeir Silent Gods. Let's start out with what we were able to open up in Season 2. And so I gotta say that overall, part of the content here has been exciting, I guess. They added a little bit to the story from what we finished in Season 1. And it essentially encompassed not only the set of islands here and some type of treasure hunt along with some whales added here and there, but we had a little underwater world that was part of the story. And then eventually I think we had to either rescue Mithracia or beat her counterpart. And I'll be honest with you, I did not have the opportunity to go through the storyline, as I, timing wise, I don't have a lot of time to devote to the game, so it was a lot of spacebar hitting through the story just for me to be able to get through it. The other thing when it comes to the overall assessment of the game, I think that the other interesting aspect of it is that, at least for this season, the fact that they added 3 additional damage type units for us to be able to test and for us to be able to form compositions within them, it's exciting. It's a little bit exciting, especially if you can accrue those heroes. But they are expensive heroes. They're epics and legendaries, and unfortunately they did not release a whole lot of rare heroes to go along with them this go around that you can complement with the other units within, right? So you had to summon at least one of the very good legendaries from those damage types, or you needed to get at least some of the very good epics to go along with them as well. So I mean, there are four rares, 1 Thunderbolt, 1 Ice Blast, 2 Burns. It really, the rares lack in trying to boost up what the epics can do, at least in terms of the burns. I think that they really focused hard on trying to make sure that they were able to sell you new legendaries this season. So at least in that regard, at least I have really liked the fact that I picked Ice Blast to go with this season and try those out, and I've really been impressed with that. The Burn and the Thunderbolt left a little bit to be desired, and not speaking for everybody in my alliance, but some of my alliance members went and resorted back to the heroes they invested in last season, especially when they realized how underwhelming some of these heroes actually are. I think that in the whole thing about going back to Season 1 and how they were introducing the heroes for us to be able to go after, especially like an Erich or Urior, and what ended up being Drizzt. And I will admit, I don't know anything about D&D, but I do understand that some people went hard for Drizzt, and some of them went hard into getting to Inspire. I personally found the hero to be underwhelming, and so I did not go beyond the 1 copy. And so for this season, I won't use them. And in regards to Urge, if you are free to play and haven't had the luck to summon a lot of legendaries, you won't be able to get an extra copy of him, so you won't be able to inspire anybody. But the other thing that I keep thinking is that even though they introduce all these legendary artifacts, that some of you are not going to get the opportunity to gather maybe 1 or 2 of this unless you actually summon a dupe. But did you actually go and summon on any of the banners that are available to you right now, especially this guarantee 80? Some of you might be able to make it, but that probably meant that you sacrificed going in the Season 2 only banner that was opened up at the beginning of the season. It's all a balancing act, and I guess that specific part of the FOMO is something that they played great at the beginning of the season, and I think that that's probably what's going to be maybe a pitfall of the game. As you can see here, I still have my every 10 legendary, every 10 summon guarantees you a legendary hero banner here, and that's because I did not use all of my tickets. I in fact stopped at 14 because I got 2 legendaries within those 14 pools, so there was no need for me to continue on and waste 6 Heliolite dice when that pity does not carry over to any of the other banners that exist in the game. So they're gonna go, I guess, to waste unless they allow us to, you know, carry them on to the next season, which I highly doubt it. And so we knew that this type of mechanic was coming into the game in terms of how you're going to summon heroes. So some of us really did push to try to get into the top 150 or the top 10%, I think it was, to get some of these tickets, so at least you would have the opportunity to get one of these new legendaries. But then what I found out was not only do they give you just a little a sublot of all these new season 2 heroes that are available, but they also added legendary heroes that have already been introduced either in beta or in season 1. And so when I summoned this, I was able to attain one of the new legendaries, but I also got one of the heroes that was from season 1. So that is part of how now it has shaped as to how I'm playing the game now. I'm not grinding it out as I did the first season. And in fact, even because of that, I knew that it was not going to be worth for me anymore to purchase the passes. I didn't really care anymore. And the battle pass. So you see this battle pass is all the bottom here. All these resources could have used to really speed up my progression in terms of leveling up heroes and possibly collect some summons for the Arduous event that is coming up. Because again, and I'm going to go through this, they're just repeating stuff. You know, it just didn't seem worth it anymore to contribute to the game in that manner. So I'm just playing it casually right now because I really just wanted to try the Ice Blast heroes that I summoned. That's what kind of drove me to this. So, but I really also want to give the game a chance and see how season 2 shapes up here at the end of it. So you can see here I'm level 34. We beat the story already. I think it only lasted 10 days. And so now it's just trying to see what it is that the second part of the world is going to be. Is it going to be the same thing that we saw in season 1 with challenging bosses, doing a quest here and there, doing some type of dungeon runs, and then calling it a day? If that is going to be the mechanic of the season, is there really a season 3 for some of us in the future? Let me even go a little bit further into that. And a lot of that I bring up because in addition to having the season reset, so everything was wiped out. All the heroes were back to level 1. Our artifacts were back to level 0. We did get some essence back. I understand that, but we only got 70% based on Heliolite dice, and I think 10% from everything else. And so thinking about it, I knew that if you follow and continue on with the summons and then subsequent seasons, you will eventually start losing whatever essence you got in season 1 and then subsequently season 2, and eventually it'll dwindle down where you're just gonna start with a small amount, right, based on how many summons you did on in the season that you're playing in. And for me, that won't be a whole lot. So my 60,000 in essence, I bet you is going to be more like 35,000 if I decide to come back for season 3. I'm really trying to understand from the developers as to why they have seasons in this game. Why did they reset us if their whole intention was to reintroduce everything that we see in season 1 and just having us farm the same thing again? And they tried to increase the Harpy difficulty on Venom by adding to those 2 extra orbs. It's still beatable. It's one of the easier dungeons to get. It's where you can get your first set of pieces to go. And you know, the Tempest domains didn't change. It's still the same mechanics. The fire one will blow you up. The Tempest, you have to beat the dragon before he summons those units and recovers his health. So everything has pretty much been copy paste from the first season. They've introduced a mechanic, I guess, especially in this part of the world, where there were boons, right? So then you can pick what advantages and disadvantages your enemies were gonna get, and what advantages you could get yourself. And aside from that, there was nothing else added to it. So I think in that regard, even though the content looked good, or is good for that limited time and how gated it is again, it was not enough to really justify resetting everything again. And so I think that the whole reset mechanic, to me, would only really work if you are completely wiping up everything and restarting from scratch. You have new challenges, so then you can go ahead and build up the compositions that you want. Essentially, it just became get some Thunderbolt units or get Asplash or get Burns and see what you can do with them in the dungeons, right? You're not getting any of the resources back, so you have to farm all of it again. So then you have to make decisions of it. Now, if they really are going for us trying to switch around which heroes we're using and utilizing the different combinations that we're getting based on the rotation, then I think that they need to let us reset the heroes in total. Not only just decreasing them to level 1, but give us all those legendary scrolls back, all that epic scrolls back that we invested into those heroes, so we can use them on the next set that is coming. Because, for example, I invested a lot of resources into the wild heroes last season. And so legendary scrolls and the epic scrolls went into those heroes to make a Vortex team that was competitive, that would get us into the top 100. Same thing with the world bosses. If I was going to challenge and try to get the best scores, then it would be on the fire based and the wild based bosses, because that's where I invested the resources. Now here we have to start all over again in leveling up our heroes, but to even make them more competent, we have to skill them. We have to scroll them. But all those scrolls now are on heroes that we have benched. And so in that regard, if you're going to have us reset everything, then allow us to reset everything. Or at least include in the shop those Oblivion scrolls that each hero apparently has, where then we can reset and recall back the skill upgrades. So here, where it says reset, where are these? It says event pack. I haven't seen any packs where and I'm afraid to even think about how much these are. Just get rid of them. At the beginning of the season, just give us the legendary scrolls back, the epic scrolls backs, and so we can just retool our account again for the new season, if that's what it's going to be. So I found that part disappointing, especially because I really thought that it was going to be new content when it came to actually doing gear farming, which is what we were looking for. I was thinking that maybe there would be some type of mermaid that we had to go beat. I was thinking that, you know, maybe there'd be like a manatee or something, but no, it just ended up being the same thing again. Graver Rod's still the same, the Ancient Battlefield is still the same, the Phoenix is still the same. So given that, I'm really confused as to why they decided to reset everything if this was going to be the main content for season 2. The other thing that I wanted to really briefly touch, and it has to do with the I guess the new damage types, but how even though they were introduced as being of similar element to other heroes already incorporated into the game, there is really no synergy between them. So in the case here, as I highlighted with the burn units, so we have new burn units added to the game, but they really don't synergize with the wild units. The wild units are still their own group. even though they're all classified within the same element. So essentially what they did is that they created a whole new element for us to go summon, I guess, and for you to go and try to get invest as much money as you can into trying to get them. And when I finally realized that, in thinking that, you know, Wild won't synergize with Burn, and when Frost was not going to synergize with Ice Blast at all, then I just decided, okay, let's just go with the heroes that we have. We know we can probably beat the content. We did it in season 1. Why should I even worry about the Ice Blast units if they're not going to complement the Frost units? So last season, I was doing Dauntless, and I summoned the Thunderbolt. When I did the first couple of tests on the camp, when we still were able to reset heroes, which, by the way, they should increase the time on that. 2 weeks is not enough, or however long it was, 1 week. They really didn't complement each other. So for me, it wasn't even going to be in doubt what I was going to do in terms of which heroes I was going to level up, because I was going to level up the ones that I already had invested on. So when it came to the end, which was that new summoning banners, I just thought of it as being a money grab, which then goes to speak about the season mechanic, because the season mechanics are 3 months long, which are in quarters. There are 4 in a year, and that's how a business is run. And I think that then for a gacha game, that's how they decided to run this business model. So every 3 months, they're going to come after you with a big rush and saying, get these new heroes. And unfortunately, they're going to be advertising that when they're saying we're starting season 2, we're starting season 3. But then if you want to start as a brand new account, you have to go all the way back to season 1, and you won't be able to get your hands on those legendaries until you play the game for 3 months and 6 months accordingly. So, aside from the repetitive nature of being Feywild and the pillars and all these little kind of areas that you have to go and beat to open things up, again, Arena is still the same old boring crap that it always has been, and they don't intend apparently on changing it. Their intention on changing it is by introducing gear and artifacts that reduce max HP, or that that based on your attack you do more damage as the other units don't have as much attack as you, instead of allowing us to just control the offense and letting us use the ultimates how we want to use them at the appropriate times, instead of just depending on RNG and wasting 2 to 5 minutes watching a fight, play out. I think that if they're going to leave it as is, they should let us auto-complete the battle. As soon as we click, we either win, lose, or draw, and then we move on to the next thing. And 3v3, to repeat that 3 times in a row, this aspect of it is still dull. It is boring. It is still the same meta. If they were intending people to use Burn, Thunderbolt, or Ice Blast in this, it's not playing out to that. It's still the same old crap that was in the beta and in season 1. So that is where I leave it. That's how I feel about the game so far, as I've completed about half the season and where I see things going. It's been a good run, where when things started to open up, and when things are as dull as they are right now, which is just us running Goblin or running some type of dungeon. It's just the same old boring content that we had in season 1, now in season 2. So those are the things that need to be more justification as to why we're resetting. Why do we need to reset when we're just redoing everything again? And if you are going to add new damage types, then make sure that they synergize with the elements that are already in the game, instead of just making them their own little subgroup. And lastly, don't divide the community as much as you are. Gacha games are stronger when everybody is working on the kind of the same level, and you allow people that want to catch up and try to get very strong accounts if they can get them and they can maintain them. And in this regard, it's really hard to do both of them because you are resetting us and you're asking us to redo all the stuff all over again every 3 months, just so you can probably get a little bit more cash grab out of it. All right. So I'm going to leave it at that. Let's see how season 2 ends up being. And hopefully we get better things coming at the end of season 2. And the season 3, the startup is not a repeat of what we saw on season 2. Thank you very much all for tuning in and watching, and I will see you all next time in the next video.